I've got the latest information on the potential tropical development in the southwest Gulf of Mexico, and I'm closely monitoring a strong tropical wave moving through the Caribbean next week. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. It is great to see you on this Saturday afternoon. I hope you are doing well. Coming up, we're going to get into the details of that potential tropical development in the Gulf of Mexico. The latest on that spin just off of the Georgia coastline. We have ample showers and storms developing through many of our area today. And then we're going to get into that tropical wave moving through the Caribbean and the impacts it could bring as we go through next week. What do you say we get started right away on this Saturday? Hope you've been having a great weekend so far. First thing I want to do is throw on the temperatures across our area here. It's getting pretty stinking hot out there. It's upper 80s, lower 90s Fahrenheit at the hour in many locations. Obviously, if you're getting some rain and storms, those temperatures are coming down, but the humidity is quite the story as well. These are the feels like temperatures across your area. Just take a look at where you live. Obviously, a place like Santo Domingo that's had a good thunderstorm roll through there. They go from a 105, 106 degree feels like temperature back down to around 80. And again, 110 Fahrenheit is 43.3 degrees Celsius. So a very steamy day out there. Then we'll get into the winds, and we've had some fresh breezes from time to time as well. Aruba had a 36 mile an hour wind earlier today. San Juan, a 28 mile an hour wind on over towards eastern Cuba, around a 25 mile an hour wind. So the breezes are up as well. Bring on the buoy observations, because now we're going to get into the forecast. First thing we do here at Meteo Mundo is we're going to talk about the here and now. Then we're going to get into that 5-day and extended forecast. So let's get into what's happening in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. There is currently hurricane reconnaissance aircraft out investigating this system at the hour. You can see on the eastern side of this, we've got a buoy with around a 30 mile an hour wind. There is an opportunity that at any point in time today, the Hurricane Center makes this a tropical depression, maybe even a tropical storm. That would be Beryl, and begins to issue advisories on it. It hasn't happened as of yet, but it's not going to shock me if potentially it does. The blue here on the program shows you the tropical storm force wind field. So again, it's elongated off towards the west. Let's look at the visible satellite imagery out of this. We already have some of that banding features coming into the northern side of Mexico. And again, this is an area that was inundated with rain from Tropical Storm Alberto just a couple of days ago. They don't need any more rain, but they're going to get it. Now, this system, whatever it ends up becoming, is not going to be as expansive. It's certainly not going to have the same impacts to the Gulf Coast, the northwest side of the Gulf Coast, mainly the Texas coastline, as Alberto did. But from Corpus Christi south, there is an opportunity for at least some heavier rain and some blustery conditions as well. And we're going to get some wind gusts in that 30 plus mile an hour range as well. Let's throw on the tropical models out of this, and I'll take off the satellite data because it's just a little bit easier to see. So you can see that on the models, all of them try and let me zoom this out just a little bit, all of them try and bring this disturbance up to the north and then push it west. We do have an area of high pressure kind of locked to the north and to the east, so it's going to push this back to the west relatively quickly. And again, this is developing not far off of the Mexican coastline. There's just not a lot of time for this to develop if it's going to happen. So more than likely, if that does occur, it's going to be within the next 6, 12, 18 hours at most. And then on Sunday, it pushes inland. But we will see ample amounts of moisture on the northern side. So again, from Corpus Christi south towards Laredo and Harlingen, all of these areas with the opportunity for some good rain, and some of that activity is already trying to work its way inland. We'll look at the overall forecast in this area coming up in just a couple of minutes. Let's get back to the here and now and talk about our other disturbance. And again, this one basically sits just inland in Georgia. Now, it's never going to develop into anything tropical, but it's also not moving. And in a broader sense, we have a very large cyclonic spin, and that is actually promoting a good bit of thunderstorm activity off of the coastal waters of Florida. Some of that is diving back down through central Florida right now and beginning to work its way into the northwest Bahamas, places like Walker's Key and Grand Bahama. There's a few storms in your area right now. They're building throughout the hour. We've had a couple of storms over Andros, and overall, we'll get additional scattered showers and storms for the northwest Bahamas as we roll through this Saturday. Pretty nasty weather over portions of the Keys, through the Straits of Florida and into Cuba. And then all of that moisture is diving back down into the Northwest Caribbean through the Greater Antilles as well. So just more active here. It's going to be pretty scattered to isolated for the central, southeast Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos for today. Moisture fetch is a little bit more robust over Cuba and then back down into the Cayman Islands. We've yet to really see any activity in the Cayman Islands as of now, but I do expect additional showers to move across the islands as we get into the afternoon, later afternoon hours of this Saturday, potentially trying to hold on through the early evening hours as well. Now for Jamaica, again, thunderstorms are developing near and across the island in some spots. We had some really strong storms on the far western side of the island yesterday, but again, it wasn't everyone. My friends in the Kingston area said, Rusty, we really didn't get it yesterday. Well, let's take a look at the loop here over the last 6 hours. We had a few storms skirt the far eastern side of the island. Then we had this flare-up of storms here a couple of hours ago, right from basically the Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town area, Old Harbor. And again, not everyone's going to get this, but this is the area with the best chance for some of that then slipped over the Maypen, Mandeville areas. You can see that lightning here live on Meteo Mundo. Can bring you all of that lightning data here as well. Love to show you that. And then some of that activity tried to backbuild towards places like Savannah Lamar and Negril. So we've had at least a couple of waves of showers and storms across the island. And again, the opportunity for more on the way, some of that activity building from north to south. It's been a little bit spottier today. And in general, we're trying to dry out a bit over Hispaniola, but still, we're getting pockets of pretty heavy rain. I mentioned Santo Domingo had a good storm over there. You can see other portions of the Dominican Republic towards Samana and Santiago de los Caballeros, just to the east of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Good thunderstorm there with a lot of lightning. Lacaille and down towards the southwestern sides of Haiti, good thunderstorms there. A little bit more active today than I expected. Still anticipating the overall coverage of storms goes down the next couple of days. But again, you'll take the downpours when you got the heat out there. Feels like temperatures when you don't get the rain are going to be in that 105 to 110 range. Now, really starting to see a big flare-up of storms over Puerto Rico right now. Look at those storms developing on the western side of the island. Aguadilla, Mayaguez, Uti Alto, Arecibo. Again, fairly robust activity, and those have really gotten going here in just the last hour or two. And because of that, let us take a live look at the radar out of Puerto Rico. So here you go. And again, on this Saturday afternoon, there's the Mayaguez area right now, Aguadilla up towards Isabela, and then off towards the south. Heavy rain and storms over the Mona Passage. And again, those through portions of the eastern side of the Dominican Republic. Scattered storms are trying to develop through portions of the Virgin Islands as well. They're much more spotty in nature. Another cluster of storms here on the far southeast side of the island. Humacao on towards Yabacoa. And again, all of this is just kind of developing and drifting at the hour, but watch out for some heavier rain and lightning on the western side of Puerto Rico right now. And it gets a little bit more spotty as you go off towards the east. Generally speaking, as we move into the U.S. Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands, and then the Leeward Islands, we're going to get drier here. There's a little bit of Saharan dust into play, not as much activity on the board for you right now. And again, you can see that basically it's been a dry afternoon across these areas. Feels like temperatures, when I throw those on, are going to bear that out. You've got a lot of areas right now, 105 to 110 for feels like temperature, like Nevis and St. Bartholomew and St. Martin. So a pretty rough afternoon there. Make sure you find the shade, drink plenty of water. Montserrat feels like temperature up to 105. Again, that's right around 40 degrees Celsius. 110 is 43.3 degrees Celsius as reference. 105 there on the northern side of Dominica, 103 in Martinique, St. Lucia, 105 as well. Now we're starting to see some moisture come back into areas south of Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago. This is with our next tropical wave. Now there is a little bit of moisture ahead of the main wave, which is actually going to be impacting the Windward Islands on Monday. And this is a wave that we're going to be talking about all week long. But we are getting some localized showers and storms right now over portions of Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago. And you can see the lightning counts going up with that as well. And then your feels like temperatures dropping. If nothing else, you get some clouds in your area, but a decent opportunity for some storms. My friends in the ABC Islands, boy, I just wish I had better news for you here, guys. It's really about the heat again for today. Again, we had a 36 mile an hour wind in Aruba. The trade winds continue, but so does the dry weather for the ABC Islands. It's slightly drier today here across portions of Central America. I mentioned that at least for today, we have a bit of a northeast breeze, and that's kind of undercutting the Central American gyre, pulling in all the moisture from the eastern Pacific. Now, we still have some storms getting going at the hour through portions of South Honduras and Nicaragua, and a good bit of blow-up storms over Costa Rica and especially Panama. Southwest Caribbean is really beginning to light up, but the air actually here is slightly drier. I can show you that on the water vapor imagery. So you're looking at a bit of red. Now look, it's not bone dry air, but compared to what we've had the last week or so, it is. Now it's going to get replaced relatively quickly by more moisture. So this is just a little bit of a break in the action. That's not the case when you get far enough north into the northern Yucatan, Cancun and Cozumel. Another wet, stormy day there. You can see the lightning developing. And again, some of that moisture, of course, is going to be feeding into our circulation in the southwest side of the Gulf of Mexico. So that's the broad look of what's happening right now, friends. And again, we're going to have a tropical wave to monitor and another one on the board much later into the period. I've mentioned in the last couple of videos that some of the moisture from these waves can be suppressed by our Saharan dust layer. So let's take a look at that. First of all, a huge plume is forecasted to move through the northern Leeward Islands and the Greater Antilles and the Bahamas and even into Florida throughout the week. This is the loop over the next 10 days. I'm going to come on screen here, jump to this side, because I just want you guys to notice again, watch this plume coming in. This is ahead of the next tropical wave moving through, now really impacting again Puerto Rico and Hispaniola on over towards maybe Jamaica, but certainly Cuba and the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. So we're going to see that try and knock down some of the rain chances here, but underneath and south of that is when that next tropical wave will be kind of moving through in concert with that dust, but staying off towards the south, and the potential that that wave might try and develop a little bit as we go through next week. So friends, time to get into the forecast, but as we do so, I want to thank you so much for your support. If you don't know, we actually are doing memberships here at Meteo Mundo, just 99 cents a month, just a way to support me and the channel. You can hit that join button here at Meteo Mundo and become a member. From time to time, I do custom forecast videos for our members. And as I go live, which we're going to be doing a lot more of here as we go through hurricane season, members will have access to custom badges and emojis. So I appreciate our members. Also, I appreciate all those who have done the super thanks. That's the tip jar. If you'd like to find other ways to support me here at Meteo Mundo, you can find that in the description area below. Okay, let's get into the forecast here. So I'm going to slip on over. First of all, we're going to look at the rain chances over the next 5 days. And obviously we're going to focus a bit on the southwest Gulf of Mexico first. First thing I'm going to do is actually drop this model back down. Just before I came on, I was looking at the extended 10-day, which we're going to get into here. We're going to be talking about that tropical wave. But for the shorter term, let's look at the GFS model. Now, the GFS model, when it comes to the reflectivity here, is going to keep this system in the southwest Gulf relatively sloppy. And as I zoom out, again, I just want to mention how this is not going to have much of an impact besides some fresher breeze for the for the northwest Gulf of Mexico outside of far south Texas. This is mainly going to be a system that's going to impact North Mexico. But again, our friends there want to keep a close and vigilant eye on this. With all of the rain that they've already seen out of Alberto, this could be a problem spot here over the next 48 hours. But again, does it wrap up much? Not significantly. We can look at the wind fields, which is going to be a much better way to analyze this system compared to actually looking at the rain there as well. So let me take off actually even this this area here as well. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to take off this wind radii. There we go. Okay, so now we can take a look at just simply the model here. We're going to leave that low on. That's fine. It's a good reference point. So as we go through the remainder of this evening, as a matter of fact, let me back up the model to the present time. I don't know why it wanted to start out 6 hours early, but we'll pick up the first 6 hours of data as well. So we go back to the kind of the beginnings of this, and you can start to see that low try and wrap up just before it moves on shore. But again, it's going to have to do this, guys, between now and midday tomorrow if we're going to get a depression or even a weak tropical storm, and that would be Beryl. Then it moves inland as well, and that's going to be about it. But just to kind of highlight that. Now I can throw on the winds as well. So I'm going to go over to this vector product and actually put the arrows on, and then I'm going to make those vectors a little bit bigger for you guys to see. But this is kind of a good model. In concert, you're going to look at the wind arrows and the direction, and then you're going to see that spin. This is all the GFS model. The purples, by the way, you're going to get into 15, 20 knot winds. You get into the pinks, that's 25 to near 30. Then the whites are going to be over 30 knots in strength. Don't see a ton of white on the board here, obviously. So that's going to be one of the other questions is, do we have enough wind to actually get this to become a tropical depression? It's possible, but there is, on the GFS model, a full closed low. So that's what I wanted to highlight. These are surface winds that do close up. So it's not going to shock me, and it shouldn't shock you if you hear about this becoming a tropical depression or even a weak tropical storm. Obviously, I'll keep you updated. We'll have another update coming up tomorrow as well. And again, the wind profile is not going to be as significant for that area. Still going to have some wind energy out of this disturbance here. And you can see it's going to freshen up the winds along the U.S. coastline, and then the winds kind of turn more southerly, and that's going to try and pull some of this activity up towards Bermuda as well. So you can see, again, pretty good wind energy here, and we're going to get a lot more into what's going to be happening with this next tropical wave. But if you look back down towards Trinidad, you can see that there's some brisk winds moving into the picture and then into the Eastern Caribbean as we get into early next week. But I don't want to put the cart before the horse. We're going to talk about that coming up. Let's now talk about the rain. First of all, and again, we're going to start off right now in the Northwest Caribbean, where additional showers and storms are going to be very likely. The wet forecast continues for Cuba and the Cayman Islands and Jamaica. High rain chances each day. Some of this energy is going to get pulled off towards the east. So the Bahamas rain chances will be going up starting tomorrow into early next week as well. And that's going to be from Freeport, Lucaya, all the way down towards Nassau, Exuma, the Acklins, towards the Turks, the Caicos. Just a higher rain chance overall as this feature passes your area to the north and to the east. But again, for places like Kingston and the Grill and Montego Bay, we're going to get these showers and storms developing in the afternoon hours. There are going to be some healthier downpours. You got to watch out for the lightning as well. As I've mentioned, I do expect some slightly drier weather for Hispaniola starting tomorrow for a couple of days. But then early next week, we're going to have that Saharan dust fighting the next tropical wave, and it is going to be a yin and yang. I do expect us to stay on the quote-unquote drier side for Santo Domingo and Port-au-Prince, but that being said, we could see a flare-up of storms in the afternoon hours. They're just not going to be as widespread or as concentrated. Now, one area that I think is going to be impacted fairly significantly by the Saharan dust, it's going to be Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and the northern side of the Leeward Islands as well, where we could have a lot of haze, first of all, and then relatively limited storm chances at least the first few days of next week. So Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Bartholomew, even back down towards places like Guadeloupe. That's the areas that I think are going to be the driest. Dominica, Martinique, and St. Lucia are going to be on the edge of that next moisture plume coming in with the next tropical wave. But you get towards Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, South Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, Suriname, Guyana, Venezuela. This is the more active pattern. Now again, it would be even wetter if we didn't have the Saharan dust present to our north. This is still a low latitude tropical wave, but this tropical wave will march across, especially the Windward Islands, providing some good rain, and then that disturbance races into the central and the eastern Caribbean, and we'll talk about how that will potentially develop after that. But it's a robust tropical wave. Again, it would be even more prominent if it wasn't fighting some of that drier air. Central American gyre is still into play, friends. Again, that's not really going anywhere. After a day or two of maybe some slightly quieter weather over Central America, the rain just not as widespread. We get back into another active pattern here. There's not a big change in this forecast overall. We continue to see a lot of moisture pull in through Central America and the Yucatan, just keeping this area extremely active. And as I've mentioned, for places like Bermuda, we'll continue to see the opportunity for more moisture move into your area with that next system right there as we get towards the latter part of the week. So that's what the overall rain chances look like. Let's go island by island. We'll start off with the Northwest Bahamas. About a 30% chance for those storms today, 50% chance on Sunday, then up to a 60% chance on Monday. Again, as this kind of broader circulation moves through, it's not tropical, but there's a lot of tropical moisture moving into the area. Central and Southeast Bahamas will see their rain chances ramp up again, especially on Monday. Turks and Caicos kind of misses that feature off to the south, also gets a little bit more influence earlier from the from the Saharan dust. But that being said, there'll still be a few storms there. Cuba, very high rain chance the next couple of days. Then they'll start to tail off just a little bit on Monday. Cayman Islands, I think it's an easy 70% chance each day. Doesn't mean every location is going to get the heavier downpours, but that opportunity is going to be there. I've actually dropped Belize City down to 70% again through Monday, but more than likely going to up that chance again as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. In Cancun and Cozumel, still some very heavy rainfall there. Of course, you live in any of these areas. You know I love to hear from you guys. Drop it in the comments section below what you've been seeing here and how that rain's been going. For my friends in Jamaica, I know at Kingston didn't really get anything yesterday, but that opportunity was there earlier today, and additional chances through the rest of the weekend into early next week. The Dominican Republic will see their rain chances tail a bit, but just like today, where those storms develop, very heavy rain and a lot of lightning. Storms are, again, fairly widespread over Puerto Rico right now. They'll wind down later today, and then we'll start to see the impacts of that Saharan dust, especially Monday and through mid next week. U.S. and British Virgin Islands, relatively low chances. Bermuda doesn't get that rain chance until about Wednesday of next week. Anguilla stays mainly dry. St. Martin mainly dry. Slightly higher chances in these areas. Antigua, Barbuda, Guadeloupe on Monday as the axis of that next tropical wave comes through. But again, better chances the farther south that you go, like Barbados, like Trinidad and Tobago, and like Suriname as well. Unfortunately, the ABC Islands, again, look to kind of miss this as we move into next week. Okay, let's take a look at our marine forecast, your wave height direction right now. And again, we're going to stay with our easterlies. You can really see, look on Monday, that's that next tropical wave coming into the Lesser Antilles. A lot of green on the map. So far, I haven't seen any marine advisories issued, but that could happen tomorrow or into Monday with the next approach of that system. So I'll be monitoring that. Otherwise, again, fairly fresh easterly winds, slightly a little bit calmer through the Northwest Caribbean and the eastern Gulf of Mexico, at least for a short amount of time. Don't expect that to last very long, though. Back out to the broad view, we're now going to get into kind of the tropical outlook over the next 7 to 10 days. So as we're doing that, again, if you haven't liked the video yet, I absolutely appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button right now, and I appreciate your support. So we're going to look at, first of all, the GFS model rain over the next 10 days. Then we'll get into the wind fields, and that will bear a few things out for us. Let me do this again real quickly here. I just have a few presets on these, so I'm going to just drop off these formation zones, drop off the wind radii, and then drop off the active systems as well. So now we have a clean slate to look at here. So a couple of things I want to highlight in the extended forecast, and what I mean by that is basically days 6 through 10, because we've already rolled through. So let's look at this tropical wave, because this is really going to be the big feature. Now, again, the opportunity to get some good rain across the Windward Islands with this wave, potentially for the ABC Islands as well. My goodness, we need some rain for Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. As we get into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as we get closer to Jamaica, here's the GFS model beginning to try and wrap up this system. Now again, El Nino's gone. La Nina is here, very little wind shear. What it's trying to do basically is, obviously we still have the Central American gyre, right? So we have this broad cyclonic spin. It's going to try and wrap this up on the far eastern side where we have that cyclonic spin already inherent. And we can see that over Jamaica, over the Cayman Islands, over portions of the Yucatan, and then guess what? Back into the southwest Gulf of Mexico. This is, if I zoom this out, guys, this is one tropical wave coming in. Let me take it even a little bit farther out. Here it comes into Trinidad and Tobago and the Windward Islands. That's going to be Monday into Tuesday. Then we follow that tropical wave through the Caribbean, into the Northwest Caribbean, over the Yucatan, and into the southwest Gulf of Mexico. That's what it looks like on our reflectivity product. Let's take a look at what it looks like on the wind product as well. I'm going to dump the vectors, because if I don't, over a 10-day loop, it might take literally forever for it to load up. So anyway, it'll take us still a second here to get our wind profiles back on this map, but we're going to be looking at the Windward Islands right here. We're going to be watching that wind energy come over the ABC Islands, then move up potentially just south of Jamaica, and then into the Cayman Islands. Again, it'll take just a second here to fully load up this loop, so stick with me. A lot of information on this map, but again, I can show this to you guys. And when I talk about this, I can also mention, and I did this in yesterday's video, that the European model has a weak signal of an area of low pressure just south of Jamaica on Thursday of next week. That still holds true as well. So we have our two major global models at least showing a weak potential disturbance or area of low pressure here in central sides of the Caribbean as we get into mid to late week. And then we look at the GFS model from there. And again, as we get into Thursday, and there's Friday is the 28th, so then we get into Saturday the 29th, and then there's Sunday the 30th. So again, potential wrap up mainly in the southwest Gulf of Mexico, but this is going to be a long duration tropical wave to monitor for the entire week ahead. Again, back to the broad view. We'll take a look at this spin one more time. We'll watch it again move in. Again, still very low latitude tropical wave kind of brushing South America, riding up through the ABC Islands, potentially getting a little bit more cyclonic spin near Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, moving over the Yucatan and into the southwest sides of the Gulf of Mexico. Other thing I love to show you guys about this too is this absolute vorticity product. So I'm going to pull that up right now. Let me get over that. Again, this is going to be your spin in the atmosphere. Not necessarily, it's not at the actual surface, but it's a composite of the lower levels of the atmosphere. This is a great analysis tool for me because it lets me know the areas to kind of concentrate on over the broader perspective. Again, this is not spin right at the surface, but we can clearly see that a composite of the spin at the lower levels of the atmosphere picks up this tropical wave in real time. And I love to do this as well. So this is kind of like fluid dynamics. We can watch this wave come in. There it is towards Trinidad right there as we get into Monday and Tuesday. And then we're going to follow it over the ABC Islands. I'm going to move this a little bit closer in and then watch this just kind of ramp up on the eastern side of that gyre, right over Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and there's your spin right over the tip of the Yucatan and into the southwest Gulf of Mexico. This is the newest run from the GFS model. I will say this, I was looking at a run earlier today. It actually had a twin spin, one here and one in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, basically rotating in concert. Now, this is a much more plausible scenario to only have one spin, but it shows you that there's a ton of vorticity or rotation coming in with this next tropical wave if it can hold together into the Northwest Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to be a lot of rain coming along with it, guys. We've talked about this as well. All of the red that you see now, this is in inches. So again, 4 inches of rain is 100 millimeters of rain. So much of that covers basically all of Central America, the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, Cuba, a lot of the Bahamas, some of the Windward Islands as well. Again, a few drier spots, the northern side of the Leeward Islands, portions of the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, but still everyone's going to get some rain, but there'll be more. And if you notice again, that spread of moisture closer to Bermuda as that feature pulls up. Shouldn't be tropical, more elongated, but some of that moisture coming back into portions of the Western Atlantic. Friends, you can follow us across all of social media. Please find us on Instagram, TikTok, where we do some exclusive content, X, Facebook. You want to send me your picture or video from your area, it's myMediaMundo@gmail.com. Of course, you have a specific question about the forecast, you can always drop it in the comment section below. And while you're there, you know I appreciate your support by giving us a like and subscribing to the channel as well. Friends, have a great rest of your Saturday, and I will see you tomorrow with the latest right here at Media Mundo.